what do you do after being served with divorce papers? So you get served with divorce papers, whether you're expecting it or not. So what's next? What should you do here? What should you be doing? I'm attorney Brent Boyer. I'm with Adam Men Divorce Family Law here in Michigan. So what do? Well, you want to take a look at the paperwork. I think people forget that step. It sounds silly, but it does help to read it. There might be a court order in there. You know, one of the reasons someone files for divorce, one of the advantages to filing first is getting court orders signed without a hearing. So you want to look through it and see if these are, if there's just a complaint, that's like a request, or is there an actual court order? There might be something that says ex parte order, mutual restraining order. There might be something that says ex parte court order for custody, parenting time, child support, whatever it might be. Ex parte just is Latin for without a hearing. So these court orders get signed with no hearing, with no notice to you, and then they become the order of the court. They're not just a request. So you want to keep an eye out for those, because those are going to tell you what you need to know. There could be a restraining order on property and other sorts of things telling you can't change beneficiaries or change bank accounts or move money around or do any of that stuff without an agreement. There could be a temporary order for child support if you're living apart. There could be some sort of temporary order, something called a status quo order, meaning some sort of requirement on what you're supposed to be doing with bills and getting bills paid. So all these sort of things go on at the beginning, but normally you get served with divorce papers, you're going to be served with a summons and a complaint, maybe some court orders, and maybe some other type of paperwork, something talking about mediation, or it depends on the county. They send different things to you at the beginning of the divorce case, but you get served with a complaint and a summons. So the summons is the requirement for you to appear in court. That's what that means. So it's a court order. It says you're being sued. You have 21 days to respond, and it kind of tells you your rights in a sort of short form. And that's one of the documents that they serve you with. And then the complaint is the divorce complaint. It states the date of the marriage and whether you have kids and some generic sort of things about whether you have property or debt or whatever it might be. Some lawyers put more specific details in there. We keep ours kind of as short and generic as possible for a lot of strategy kind of reasons. We don't want to get into too many details in a divorce complaint, and there's just no reason, especially given that the divorce complaint is part of the public record, and in the court records, I don't want a bunch of details in there that aren't necessary, extraneous kind of information. So but what do you do at that point? Well, you need to review it. You need to see what's in there, see if there's court orders, see if, in some counties there's court hearing dates. So you want to look through there and see if there's a court date coming up that you're being made aware of by being served with these papers. Like in Michigan, where we are, Oakland County, for example, they give you a court order right from day one when you file that shows you the first two court dates in your case, when those are coming up, when you have children. When there's not minor children, it's different. But so in other counties, depending on where you're at, there might be a court hearing date that's scheduled that you need to look for within the paperwork. You also could review the paperwork. You could go online if you're feeling like you're computer savvy and you know kind of how this might work. You could look up your county, look up the courts, and see if there's more information available. In some counties, you can look up the case. You can see who your judge is. That'll be on the paperwork anyways, but you can see whether there's any court hearings scheduled that you don't have in the paperwork. You could see if there's other information that's out there that's available on the court website that is not in the paperwork that you have. And then from there, what do? Well, you want to start figuring out a strategy. You need to respond to this thing within 21 days. Respond means file an answer. If you weren't personally served, you might have 28 days, but just assume it's 21, because 21 or 28, you need to get moving on it. So once there's a divorce complaint filed, as soon as you're served, you then have 21 days from the date you were served, not those other dates that are in the paperwork. So you got 21 days from when you were served to file an answer. An answer is a response. So what the person that filed for divorce, what they filed is called a complaint. What you are required to file is called an answer. So you respond. You can also do a counterclaim, which is sort of your own version of a divorce complaint. So you can file an answer, which is your response. You can file your own complaint, which is a counterclaim, and then you go forward that way. If you're not going to do all that on your own, you want to have an attorney do it, then you want to set up a time to meet with somebody right away. Get them a copy of the paperwork, get eyes on it, get advice, legal advice about it. Or if you're going to try to go on your own, then you want to know what's required. How do I file an answer? How do I file a counterclaim? Am I in a county where I have to take the paperwork there in person and hand it to a clerk? Can I mail it in? Can I file online? It's all different depending on which county you're in. So you want to know from there, and then you want to start working on this. If this person has filed and has served you, they've probably been preparing for this for a while because it took some doing to get all that accomplished. So they might have been thinking about this and planning for this last month. So you want to start going through your life here and doing an inventory and getting a sense of what you got. Make sure you understand what your incomes are, what your wife's income is, what bank accounts you have. Get yourself ready financially for what's coming here. What do you need to know? What do you need to be aware of? Make sure you're not getting taken advantage of in some way. If there's joint bank accounts, keep an eye on those. The person that filed for divorce and has served you might be getting advice from a divorce lawyer to go take money out of the joint account. They might tell them to take all the money, tell them to take half the money. Who knows what they're going to tell them? It could be lots of things. So you want to be aware of that, and then you're going forward from there. You're really just trying to keep the peace. You want to get a sense of what you want to see happen here, what your expectations are. You're probably going to want to get advice about that so you know what you have coming, what your rights are. If there's children, you want to be thinking about what kind of custody, parenting time arrangement you would like to see happen as opposed to what the other person is telling you, because you want to have your own thoughts about it. And you want to have a sense of, if you own a house, what do you think it's worth? How much do you owe on it? What's your monthly budget? What are your utilities, your expenses, your other things? If you have a car, you want to know what that's worth, what you owe on it, if there's debt, so you want to just be doing sort of an inventory, getting yourself ready the way you would if you were going to go to a financial planner or you're going to go have someone do an estate plan. You want to get a sense of what is it, what do you own, what's the value of the things you own. And I don't mean like little stuff that you can pick up and carry. I mean like cars, bank accounts, retirement accounts, houses, those sorts of things. You want to know what those are worth. You want to know what kind of debt you have, loans, student loans, credit card debt, whatever it might be. Get a general sense of all of that, and you'd set up a time to meet with a divorce lawyer. Doesn't mean you have to hire them, but you would definitely want to get some advice, get a sense of what should be expected here and what this looks like. So I hope that helps, but just sort of a general view. What do you do once you've filed? What do you do once you've been served with divorce papers?